These are game developers. They're the reason you get to play the things you love and why I have a job. And right now it's early March 2016, a week before the Game Developers Conference kicks off in San Francisco. And this year, the Victorian government is helping send over their largest delegation of over 50 Aussie developers to take part.
I've been to E3 several times, but GDC is a different beast altogether. You're amongst the best developers in the world.
Listening to people's stories and understanding what they've done well or failed at is something I'm really looking forward to.
Face-to-face talks obviously is a little bit hard when you're in Australia and your partners may be in North America or Europe, so that's really important for us to be in the same room with these people.
I mean, we're going more as a research opportunity and to speak to as many people as possible.
There are a few publishers that are into sort of quirky games and we're hoping that they'll be interested, and if they're not interested then we'll at least learn some feedback that'll make them interested next time.
For 1 week a year, it seems like half the video game development community descends onto San Francisco. That's me looking at a bridge. I'm NichBoy, and San Francisco is just a stone's throw away from Silicon Valley and is the home of video game development. It feels like the city is pulsating with tech and game ideas. Everyone I spoke to is all over the latest in technology and eager to hear what others are working on. Also, the trams are steep as shit. The Game Developers Conference runs for 5 days and is an equal parts educational seminar, showcase, and party central for some of the most talented nerds in the world. If E3 is where games are sold, GDC is where those games are made. I also don't know who those people are. Get them off my show. Located in downtown San Francisco, the Moscone Center is the home of GDC, and the event is spread across 3 main halls. The West Hall is where most of the talks are, with lots of room to spread out and network. The North Hall is where folks can register and home of most of the indie and career booths, and the South Hall is where all the big industry and tech booths are. Of course, there's also a myriad of tunnels interconnecting the halls, populated by people making deals. GDC kicks off with 2 days of summits before the show floor opens, which is also just a nice way to say everyone sits in the conference room and gets lectured to. But the lectures are all about game development, and they're super interesting. Like this one from one of the guys who made Rocket League.
We did about 10,000 concurrent users. We got 180,000.
This time last year, the game wasn't out.
Right.
What was GDC like for you then?
As an independent developer at GDC, a lot of what GDC is pitching to publishers. And it was kind of depressing, honestly. Like, we're just trying to show games to publishers and they're just not really interested. So it's a very different experience this year.
And so last year, were you showing people Rocket League? No.
We kind of assumed, we kind of were, but we've kind of given up on a publisher. We'd already developed the game. So when you've already spent all that money, there's not a lot of reason to bring a publisher in to take a percentage at the last minute.
Yeah.
So last year was more showing like future ideas and seeing if a publisher would want to fund it.
And so this year, you just finished giving a massive talk. You guys are pretty much like superstar indie devs right now.
Maybe.
A lot of that talk was about really specific sort of dev-based things, like having DLC available for day one purchase and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Did you feel more comfortable doing that than necessarily just like promotion?
We're not like traditionally a very promotion-heavy studio, right? Like a lot of our guys, and myself included, aren't salesmen, we're developers, and we're at the developers conference. I try to emulate my favorite talks that are very specific, like these are actionable things that you can take away from our experience and apply to your own games. So that's what I was shooting for.
Yeah, because I feel like at GDC, there's not many industries where necessarily you can talk about your failures in a way that is really open.
Yeah, I think it's important because especially students and other indies come to this and they see your game, and there's a natural tendency to want to copy that. And the last thing we want is for people to make the next Rocket League, go bankrupt, assuming it's just going to work.
Yeah.
Like, people need to be, especially new developers, need to be aware of how hard the industry is and how prepared you need to be for failure.
And it seems like knowledge is everywhere. The talks are such a trove of information for devs and a huge part of the appeal of GDC.
Is this your first GDC?
I've been to GDC before, I've done a couple talks, but
you've done a couple of talks?
For GDC before.
Right, okay. What did you talk about?
For me, it was actually interior design in games.
In games, really?
Yeah. And how interior design theory relates to how we should think about developing space, and how to think about environments in the way that interior designers do.
That's so cool.
It's
That's
fun.
exactly the kind of, like, excuse me, but incredibly nerdy discussion that I feel like GDC is so perfect for. Because it's so insanely specific, but also, I guess, like, really useful. And
So-
how did you...
careful.
sorry, you do your thing.
Yeah. So right now, don't continue walking up to that.
Don't step on
That
that.
is a spike trap.
The first stop for our local developers is the Aussie Dev Night. It's technically a showcase for our talent, but it's more like a reunion. Devs from all over Australia can meet up here in a foreign land and talk about what they're working on and why they came halfway across the world to hang out in a room with other Australians. It also serves to introduce all the new, younger devs to the rest of the gang, and the international community can get to know the Aussies.
For the last 6 years, how has GDC changed? The Australian industry was crashing in 2011 when I came here, or all but done, and now 2016 is this huge, the Australian games industry is epic.
There are so many Australians here. Was it like this 6 years ago?
It's always sort of been support the Aussie at GDC as well, but definitely not like this. This is probably the largest contingent of Australians I've ever seen at GDC.
And I think there's a lot of like collaboration this year. Like it's all about coming together as a whole country, not just individual studios. We're all here together. We're all looking out for each other.
There's been a lot of Australian indie success lately.
Yeah.
And I think Australian studios really are starting to lead. And we're seeing there's a lot of respect, there's a lot of goodwill internationally about Australia. Australia's seen like we've got our stuff together.
You guys have been trying to set up a meeting with someone from Epic. How's that going?
Really good. We met him out for dinner last night. We also met him when he came to Melbourne 2 weeks ago. So it was really nice to just come to America and, be in this amazing place and see Andy, just casually out for dinner.
And so you've been making a VR drone racing game.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of the meeting? Is this to sell it, or is this for advice, or what's going on?
Well, it's sort of to sell it, as well as also get as much as what we can from Unreal, because we like to use the Unreal Engine, and of course that's through Epic Games itself as well.
I'm working on a VR slot car game.
In VR?
In VR, yeah. And they cannot fall into this kind of mysterious land.
Are you doing this all by yourself?
No.
No.
I'm not that talented.
Are you taking all the credit for it here at GDC?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, good, yeah.
It's the first day of GDC and disaster has struck.
It was a mild disaster. It was a heart full of hope, and then a shattering of the hope, and then a slow rebuilding of the heart. That's enough metaphors for today. I'm out of here. Thanks, everyone.
So what happened?
Showed it to one of my old friends, Cam Brown, who's got 20-something years of experience, an adult game dev, and he couldn't understand the game, and we're trying to make it understandable by like 7-year-olds. So I was crushed. I nearly went back to my hotel room and had a little suki lala.
Yep.
But then I got a text from another friend, also a veteran game dev. So I showed her the later build in between that time. She's like, you only really have to tweak these 2 or 3 things and it'll be understandable. And I'm like, that made me happier again.
Can you talk to me about what the game is actually about?
You're a vampire surgeon and you're trying to bleed all the patients dry to turn them into vampires. It's just a basic game.
I want to play this game. Kevin, your third GDC. How's today going?
We've basically bring our new game, Ticket to Earth, and we've set up some meetings to show people, and we want to kind of announce our game and show people for the first time.
So you're announcing here at GDC?
Yep. Yeah, so we made a brand new sci-fi puzzle tactics game with a brand new mechanic, and we want to show it off this time.
So what's the process involved of actually showing it off?
So we just set up private meetings with a bunch of different press and publishers and stuff.
And so what's the difference between going with a company where you were an employee and now, all the pressure rests on your shoulders?
Like you said, I feel the weight crushing me.
Kevin's freaking out, everybody. Kevin's freaking out.
There's a high chance that, no one will love our game, and then I'll feel crushed, and then I'll cry on the plane all the way home.
That is the most Australian answer you possibly could have given. If you're an American, you'd be like, everyone's going to buy this game. This is like going to be a #1 seller. And you're like, they're probably going to hate it, and I don't deserve to be here.
Maybe it is an Australian thing. I feel uncomfortable saying our game is completely awesome and everyone will love it. But I actually think it is.
Believe in yourself, Kevin. You are already getting slammed with meetings today.
Absolutely. VR's a hot topic this year. So VR and AR technologies have been just absolutely the talk of the town.
And so have you been doing meetings today, like business meetings, not just sort of press stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been networking a lot in our business suite as well. That's before the business suite is actually open. Like, that's how busy we are right now.
This is your first GDC. How's the first day been?
It has been overwhelming, to say the least. I've basically just spent the day
being a complete noob.
You're also here by yourself, right?
Yes, yeah. I did a drama degree. And everyone's basically like, you did the drama degree, that means you can talk.
Yeah, and if you get stuck in a meeting, it's just you could start doing commedia dell'arte poses or something.
I'll probably just start improv.
Have you met anyone cool besides me?
I met Luigi, I'm not entirely sure how to say his last name, Luigi Priore. He works for Disney, and he's been working on Disney games like the 90s, and he's been giving me so much advice. This whole thing is crazy. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm faking it till I make it.
Well, I think you're faking it pretty well. I feel like you meet industry veterans, that seems like good networking.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not only meeting people like Luigi from big companies, but also just local devs from Melbourne. So when I get back, I can hook them up and be like, let's get coffee, let's chat about games and stuff like that, which is really, really cool.
It's Wednesday and the expo floor is finally open. I've listened to people talk about making games. Let's go see the games they've been working on. The North Hall is full of indie titles and is where you get hands-on with what's in development. And there are way more games playable here than I would have expected. It's not the most glamorous expo I've ever been to, but it doesn't have to be, because what matters here are the people. So let's go talk to the one in charge of it all. Megan, how did GDC start?
Well, the first one was an experiment. So it started as the Computer Game Developers Conference. And it was in our founder, Chris Crawford's living room. There were about 26 people there. And it was the first time they'd ever gotten together and shared their experiences and ideas. And they realized it was really quite helpful. And so they said, let's do it again. And they held it in a hotel later that year at a Holiday Inn, I believe. And there were about 150 people. And then it's just grown ever since to about 27,000 today.
What to you is the core identity of GDC?
It's an event for developers by developers. So our only focus, our laser focus, is making sure that we address needs of developers. We have an advisory board of seasoned game developers. They're really important people in the industry. They're responsible for all of the session content that takes place.
How do you feel the event has changed besides just sort of getting bigger?
Well, each year it evolves with the industry. So each year you see something new, a new trend appears. So this year it's the year of VR. Last year it was esports. It's been smartphones and tablet gaming. So as the industry evolves, GDC evolves with it.
There also seems to be way more playable stuff than I thought there may have been. Has that risen? Is this sort of out of the ordinary in terms of playable?
It's something that we intend to do. So we want, we are game makers, but we're also game players. And we find inspiration and celebration in playing games that other people create. So we want an opportunity for people to not only learn and in sessions and experiment on the expo floor, but take time out and just play games.
Now you're adjusting the reception on the TV within the TV.
I've read that you have been really aggressive about making GDC more diverse. What have you been doing to try to broaden the audience?
We have outreach for people more diverse people to submit talks to GDC. We also give away about 500 passes under a scholarship program. So we give underrepresented communities a handful of passes to hand out to their audience and their members to attend GDC and soak it in. Because once you're in the audience, then maybe you'll aspire to be a speaker, maybe you'll aspire to make games.
I also saw there's a sign around here for daycare as well.
Yes, well, a lot of women, I got feedback from a lot of women that they don't come to GDC because they're taking care of their kids. And so I said, well, why don't we just fix that for you? And last year we started it. Not very many people used it, but this year it's full. It made such a difference, and it's such an easy thing for conferences to do. I don't know why more don't do it.
What to you is the most exciting part of the show?
I mean, it's nothing but inspiration all week, and I love seeing the little pockets of people sitting on the floor, showing each other their games and their technology, and it's just really like sharing and inspiration and networking is what GDC is all about.
Previous to this, we'd been doing fan-based events, so it's been really lovely to come here and be honest and open with game devs.
How important is GDC to you in terms of meeting new people?
So this is the very, very first time ever that we've shown a game at GDC.
No.
Yeah, so actually there was like that LBP announcement.
Remember that enormous game that made your company?
Except for that one.
Forgot about that. But on the show floor, like we've never, like even when we did the announcement, we never showed LBP on the show floor. The really big difference of showing something at something like E3, which is amazing, is that everybody here is a maker. You know, like people, this is the maker community. And so when they see Dreams, what they see are possibilities, and they get so excited about what they're going to do with it. And for us, because they're our people and our peers, it's the most validating, because it's like, wow, you know, we've had people come through who have made games that we all love and respect, or made movies, or, I mean, I feel like GDC is one of the most important events culturally for the video games industry every year.
So if you look at the map, for an example, if you come back here, you can see there's a door in this node and then a lever in this door up there.
So go right?
Yeah, so you can go back to the room with the lever.
So, like, when you come to places like GDC, with a game like this, what's your experience?
So we essentially meet with people, talk with them, show them the game, kind of get them hyped up.
Yep.
There you go. And just try to get the word out, right? There's a lot of games out there, and I think it takes a fair bit of effort to rise above.
Yeah.
Maybe the noise isn't the right term, but just rise above all the other games.
Do you find there's less noise here than something like E3? Like, is this more of a supportive place to be for your game, or?
Yeah, it's a good question. E3 is really noisy. E3 is a bit hectic.
Yeah.
GDC is pretty good. There's a lot of industry devs here. But you know what? We've had just as much success at a PAX, for example, where there's also lots of media that come by. So I'm not sure if one's better or worse.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that's a closed off tunnel. So at this point, you can just wander around. But we've had a pretty good, so often what we'll do is we'll show you what's in the next room.
Right, oh yeah, but I'm not connected to it yet.
Yeah, and it's sort of a way we breadcrumb stuff. Oh, you very well, you might die in this fight. But
So you're over here with the Canadian delegation as well. Did you receive government funding for the game or the trip? Or?
So in Canada, we have a few really great programs, federally and provincially, which support video game development, and they have helped us with Severed. And even just having a space like this, the Canadian government allows us to meet people and talk to them, and makes it a lot easier for us to just get out and meet media or meet business contacts. So yeah, the programs have really helped, and I think we probably wouldn't be where we are without the initial support of Canadian grant programs.
And do you find that it's sort of encouraging when you come over here as part of a group?
I think weirdly in the back of your head it does feel it's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's like you've got like a sort of an embassy or something.
Yeah, there's sort of a home base.
Yeah.
And it's good to see other local Canadian devs, because sometimes you talk about Canadian-oriented problems.
Yeah.
So video game development, Canadian-oriented.
right.
Not Canadian problems.
Yeah, just like the economy or something.
Yeah, right. Like, the winter, I know, right?
Now, I know we've just met, and this might be a bit forward.
No, bring it on.
But can I hug you because you're making a game for the Vita?
Yes.
And you're like one of the two people
we hug
doing
it?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for loving that thing.
You know what? That's sort of, we hear that a lot, and it's scary but good. I'm not sure. Some people say we're the last game, exclusive game that might be out on the Vita.
I know.
The great thing about GDC is it's so international. So many countries have their own sections on the show floor. It takes a Herculean effort to ship a bunch of devs halfway across the globe, so we caught up with the Australian team who made it all happen.
So Alan, a lot of the glitzy stuff is out there, but it's in these kinds of rooms that the real deal sort of happens.
Yeah, exactly. We create this space so that the Victorian developers can have a little bit more of a formal meeting spot to make, sort of deals happen, hopefully. This morning, one of the small companies in Victoria had a meeting with Valve. So it was great that they could just come in here, 2 minutes off the show floor, have their meeting in 30 minutes, and then leave again.
Yeah, I love it that there's all these sort of little pockets of offices around here. I feel like I've walked into a different building. Everyone's wearing suit jackets. Yes. I feel like there's a lot of money here. Is there a lot of money here?
Hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully, that's what we're trying to attract.
And you've got catering.
We do. We have tea and coffee for sure.
And what's your week been like? What have you been up to since you've arrived?
Well, I meet with other countries. We're promoting Melbourne International Games Week, so we're speaking with various regions around the world to try and see if they can take some interest in Melbourne International Games Week, perhaps bringing across a delegation or sending some indies over and having a stand at PAX, for instance.
Lacey, it's day one of the expo.
Yes.
What have you been doing?
We've been here in the IGF Pavilion just hanging out. Luckily for us, we know a lot of our friends and over there with the other games, so we've been setting up, showing people the game. It's a very different convention to what we're used to because it's not a consumer-facing conference.
You're not selling.
Yeah, so we're actually having people asking us questions and I'm like, I actually don't know the answer to that. I need a programmer.
Like questions about how did you program this thing? Or how
Yeah,
does
like
this
the
work?
algorithm around map generation. I'm like, sure, I could probably explain it to you at a high level, but not the detailed level, which is awesome. So we get to talk to people that are also making games as well. We get to talk to people that are looking for jobs.
Yeah.
We get to talk to people that are doing all awesome stuff. So it's very, very different, but it's fun.
Are you worried that the people asking about it, is it like the Italians trying to steal our secrets? Like what's going on?
In the games industry especially, there are too many cool ideas going around for people to really worry about stealing ideas. We collaborate a lot, especially in Australia and especially in Melbourne because it's so small. There's a lot of collaboration and I don't think we've ever been worried about people stealing our stuff.
Laura, it's
Hello.
Wednesday. How
Yes,
has your
it
week
is.
been so far?
Pretty amazing. I've been hanging around with Lee Mesler all day and he's been introducing me to so many people because
Yeah.
he knows everyone.
Important people?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Media Molecule and the League of Geeks and then Riot and Double Fine and yeah.
These are all big names.
Yes.
I don't want to put any pressure on you, but I have been pretty much using you as the shining example of the future of Australian game development.
wow,
So if
okay.
you don't sell your game by the end of the week, you're really going to wreck our episode.
Oh my gosh.
Right now
Okay.
you're in the indie area.
Yes.
Are you sort of trying to soak up inspiration or steal people's ideas?
Both.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly inspiration. Hopefully get to meet some people and chat about their game, my game, and
Yeah.
and see what happens.
Well, I don't want to hold you up anymore because you do have 2.5 days to sell
I
your
know.
game
Why did you put that
for
pressure
TV.
on me?
Yeah. So just go. Don't pretend. No, don't pretend. Actually go.
actually go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Meet. Stop looking at me and go to a meeting.
She'll be fine. Because you can't throw a Game Boy around GDC without hitting a successful Australian dev. And also because it's very hard to find Game Boys these days. In fact, while we were there, Disney revealed they had partnered with Australian Indies Hipster Whale for Disney Crossy Road. So I sat down with real-life Disney Prince Andy Sum on the day of the announcement. Working with Disney, you must be terrified. I'd be terrified.
Yeah, it's been a pretty big opportunity. I've always loved making games. You know, when I was a little kid, I always wanted to make games. I did it as a hobby growing up. I went to university, but I was still playing games, making games. When Crossy Road took off in 2014, it was pretty unexpected. But it's been really, really cool to work with Disney. Like you said, because we're a really tiny company and Disney's so big, it's been really, really fun and a lot of challenges, but really good.
How do you even get a meeting with Disney?
I think we actually met through one of our mutual friends from another conference in Amsterdam actually set up the meeting. So we knew him and they knew someone at Disney and we just asked, can you put us in touch? So from there, we just got on a call and that's how it happened.
So what was your first time at GDC like?
Very, very different. My first time was in 2013. It was my first time to the US, so it was a pretty new experience for me. I was showcasing a different game at the time. I'd actually received funding from Film Victoria to come out here, so that was really, really good. It helped kickstart, me coming here. This is, the conference once a year where you get everyone from all over the world, so it's been really important for me and Hipster Whale to come here and, get Australia, which is so far away from, the US and the rest of the world, and get us on the map and, meet the guys from the US here.
I am so happy for this guy. And also for Ariel.
Casey, you had your huge meeting this morning. How did it go?
It went amazing. Met Andy Hez from Epic Games. It was really lovely to meet him. He's such a laid-back guy. Can't wait to do business with him further down the track when the dust settles.
There was dust?
Well, the chaos here at GDC, it's
Right,
really,
okay.
really good. Like, there's so much energy. I love it. It's first time here, first time in America, and I just love everything about it. And just meeting Andy was just, on the top of our to-do list, and we achieved it.
So it's just mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished at GDC. Yes.
Excellent work.
Love the networking.
All
It's
right.
very good.
I'm going to hit you up for a loan when you get a game published by
All
Epic.
right, no worries. No worries.
Not kidding.
I know.
I need money.
Okay.
Okay, talk me through it.
So this is Thumb Drift, came out a couple of weeks ago. We just broke 4 million downloads, so it's going really well for us.
Seriously?
And it's, yeah.
It came out when?
Feb 18. So
Right.
we're just under a month.
And how many downloads?
4 million. Yeah, it's going really well. Oh, thank you.
Well done.
Yeah.
Okay.
People love cars. So
People love cars.
That was our brief to ourselves. Like, people love cars, let's make a car game.
Yeah, okay, cool.
You got to drag the butt of the car to steer.
Oh, right, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, sick.
And then it's like Need for Speed meets Temple Run, you know? Like, how long can you go? Collect coins, do missions. This in the 1 month has kind of already done enough funding for our studio for the whole year.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What are you doing here with it? Are you like wandering around just grabbing people and showing them the game?
Oh, no, we're just enjoying GDC as developers, you know? Like, I've brought the whole team over to kind of, you know, enjoy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what have you taken away from this year's GDC?
Well, I'm doing all like the free-to-play stuff, all the kind of more business side. The other guys are doing all the art and more level design.
Yeah.
So kind of taking away different, you know, ways to kind of, you know, retain your audience. You know, we've got 4 million downloads, we've got to retain them.
I wish there was a conference where it could teach you how to make TV shows. Like, you meet up with other people who make TV shows about video games, and you all just swap ideas.
Does that not exist?
It probably does, but no one's invited me. Yeah. So thanks. Thanks for that, guys. The South Hall houses more of the glitz and shiny things you would expect to see at a video game convention. But there's no Call of Duty blasting your ears out, or wargaming choppering in an Abrams tank, or heaven forbid the doof of Just Dance. What you'll see here is facial capture hardware, or a 45-minute tutorial on how to realistically light skin tone in the Unreal Engine. Because no one in this hall is here to buy games. They are all looking for that cool piece of technology which will help them make their next one. How long has the company been around?
So we have roots back to 1999. So the original research was facial and gesture recognition.
Yeah.
And then they realized in 2003 with Rockstar, they could basically take the motion that our scientists were really good at, but they knew nothing about animation. So they combined an animator with a scientist to basically put that together. And that's kind of what our core principle is built on, is art and technology.
You're in such a, I guess it'd be such a rapidly developing space as well, technology-wise. How do you guys keep up with it?
You know what's interesting? I love the position that we're in because we're across visual effects, film, all entertainment, VR, AR, right? And then you have the whole next-gen consoles that came out a few years back, and then all of a sudden the fidelity needed to be raised. They could have higher resolution meshes, higher resolution textures, and they could do more. And then all of a sudden, people were really noticing the performances, and they had to be real.
So in your mind, do you feel like your tech is ahead of where games are at the moment? Just
Absolutely.
In terms of, so you're always encouraging people to try, like, the tech to catch up with you.
Yeah, you know, and it's a balance, right? Because if the face looks good and all of a sudden the cloth or the hair doesn't look good, you know, they have to basically elevate everything all at once.
Yeah, there's a split between like the two halls. So we've got over there's a bunch of indie games and sort of bigger games that are being showed off. But over here we've got so much of the tech. It's kind of like that stuff that exists now, and this is you guys are here going, all right, let's talk about games in 5-6 years time.
Yeah, for us it's forming the partnerships with the Unreals of the world. That was the best partnership that we did last year.
Yeah.
And in combining, knowing what they're doing on the rendering side so that we're in the motion business, right? So if our motion will look better with a better renderer. So, and then having the right conversations with the devs so they start taking advantage of all these tools on the tech side and then making sure that trickles down to the indie side.
Cool, well, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Can I take this? And out of all the new technologies here, the one that has the most buzz is VR. And Australian devs Opaque Media are getting in early. It's Thursday now. What's the week been like so far?
I had no idea it was Thursday, to be honest. It's been really good. Very hectic, obviously. Like, we're going from one meeting to another meeting. We're going to events at night and waking up early in the morning as well. So for us, it's about keeping schedule, keeping on point of each of these meetings. The days kind of blend into one, but for us, the gravity of the meetings are what's important.
People are saying, you know, they're having a lot of meetings. Can you talk about some of the people that you are meeting?
The people that we're running around meeting are hardware providers, sometimes a software provider, but mostly it's kind of like middleware people. Because in addition to just making games, a lot of what we do is integrating technologies with one another. So just earlier today, we were meeting with a company that have the ability to do facial performance extraction out of just audio.
Yeah.
So imagine if you could animate a face just by analyzing the audio that comes through Skype.
That's crazy.
It's pretty cool.
And we've got one more day of GDC. So what are you doing tomorrow and then after that?
We fly out to Houston first thing Saturday morning, and we'll have the privilege of spending a week at Johnson Space Center.
So you guys are meeting with NASA.
what is the meeting about?
So we'll be speaking to key personnel there and touring facilities in order to gather information for essentially the authenticity of Earthlight.
Have you been kind of dropping the NASA card out on the table all the time?
We need to be very careful about talking to NASA. Well, the important thing is we need to be sure that we don't misrepresent our relationship, because NASA is a public domain agency and a government agency. They don't endorse anything. What they do is they support people with interesting projects.
Well, I'm really glad that the week's gone well for you guys. I feel like you must be exhausted, but it's the good kind of exhaustion. So I wish you luck for your last day of meetings and NASA.
NASA!
There we go. And while games are the public side of GDC, the conference is also a celebration of all the amazing, talented people who make them.
She doesn't just turn you into a passionate gamer. She turns you into a passionate game maker.
Tonight's Ambassador Award winner, Tracy Fullerton.
Seriously, I've been working in this industry for 25 years, half of my life, and it is an amazing community. It is full of such love and passion and intelligence and creativity and all the good things in life. And I know that games and play have touched each and every one of us in important and meaningful ways, and that's why we're all here. That's why we've made it our life's work to bring more joy and play into other people's lives. And I guess what it means to me to be an ambassador, an educator, to be an elder in this community is the responsibility that I have to ensure that many more people will get that same chance.
How do you feel that GDC has changed since the first time you attended, besides just scale?
There's always been a focus on the commercial game industry, and I think that's great, and there always will be a focus in that direction. But what I've seen over the years is kind of other areas of investigation in games open up.
Speaking of sort of diversity, I read that with USC, with your program, you've actually got more female participants in the program than male.
Yeah, we have 50-50 overall, and we've had that in the last 3 years. So as these kind of groups, age out and graduate, at a certain point, it's going to be 50-50 down the line.
I guess it's kind of sad that we have to celebrate this, but it is a really
It should just be, but sometimes things are not the way that they should be, and we need to focus on them. And here's the thing, it's about creating a inclusive and welcoming and respectful community for people to come and do great work. It's not just about, I'm going to accept 10 women or something like that. It's about making sure that when those women get there, that they can do great work in a way that makes them feel like it's okay to express themselves, to speak in meetings, to be leaders, to gain skills, to do all the things you need to do to be a great game developer.
You must have seen students of yours who've come through your programs on the show floor with games.
Yeah, everywhere.
Giving talks.
You can't throw a stone. I just saw, while we were talking, I saw one walk by behind us.
What is that like? I feel like I would feel like there's just a bunch of my kids here, sort of like going out of the world.
That's what I feel like. I mean, I call them my kids. They're adults, obviously. When they come to me, they're adults. But I think of them as they're like my spawn, and they're out there, and I'm super proud of them, and I try to support them in any way that I can to make sure that they can be successful after school too.
Working developers are here showing off their wares and imparting their knowledge, but it's also a space where new talent can be unearthed.
You guys are here recruiting at GDC.
Yeah, we are. We just finished up shipping Just Cause 3, so we're kind of ramping into our next project now.
It's good for you guys because you're getting in new talent, but you're also giving a lot of people here a chance to, actually come up and see someone face to face. It's not just like the logo of the company in an email.
Especially you get a lot of kids that are out of the schools, Full Sail, DigiPen, etc., and it gives them an opportunity to talk to us a little bit about what do we look for, what's the right way to go about getting into a job in this industry. And even if we don't have something for them particularly, we feel like there's help and good that we can do. Just via the process. We probably had at least 4 candidates for producers that were very solid and exactly kind of what we're looking for.
And are they rocking up with resumes, or are they just like, so they know you're here and they're...
Or they're, maybe they don't know that we specifically are here. Maybe they did their homework, maybe they didn't. But a lot of the cats, especially in this area, will walk around with a backpack full of resumes.
Yeah, right.
So when they talk to somebody, if they decide they're interested in applying there, they're ready to go.
With GDC quickly wrapping up around me, my experience here has really made me think about where the Australian games industry is heading, so I spoke to the guy at the front of it.
GDC prior to the crash was entirely about obviously console and high-end PC. Crash happened, and then GDC lost its way a little bit because it couldn't cater to the emerging mobile market, and now it's come right back up again and really services the entire ecosystem of game development.
The group that you've brought over are kind of in a special position because, like you said, there's console games here, but there's a heap of tiny indie PC games. There's a heap of VR. There's mobile stuff everywhere, and it's good stuff. It's not sort of mobile, sort of just looking for your money stuff. It's like weird, interesting, arty things. That seems to be what the Australian scene is making. So I feel like this is a GDC designed for Australians.
Absolutely, we have creative control. We don't have the big publishers who are involved in development in Australia. So we can do anything we want, and which is why we're producing this really interesting content and probably experimenting a little bit more than others. And it shows in the product that we're releasing right now.
Victoria is so supportive of the game development industry.
Our government's been instrumental, especially for young startup studios, for getting those little budding entrepreneurs to an event like GDC, which is incredibly important, especially early in your career. GDC of the past, you probably wouldn't get here until you're about 7 to 10 years into your career. You'd get to experience your first GDC. With the support of the Victorian government, you're here in the first 2 years of your career, and you get this massive learning curve really early. You take that back with you, really enthusiastic, and you're suddenly building games of much higher quality.
Do you, I guess then you would kind of categorize your job, you're bringing developers over to introduce them to the world, but then here you're finding what the world has to offer and you'll bring it back to Australia.
Yeah, and one of the great things about the Australian industry is the reason we produce the kind of quality that we do is we don't compete with ourselves. We compete with the world. So our quality bar is this. And that's what we take back with us. So we want to know what we're up against, and then we go for it. And that's what GDC gives us.
Craig?
Yes, hello.
Does the game work yet?
Okay, the game works, the build's good.
Victory!
All right. It's not incomprehensible, it's more comprehensible, but not comprehensible. Eventually we'll pull all those words off. So we've showed it to people. People can sort of see that it's, they can see the game in it, but they know that it's still struggling. But people seem to like it, so it's pretty cool.
This is an interesting position you're in because this is game development, right? This is this process is just, do you feel that you brought the game a little too early, or you just brought the wrong kind of build, or?
When the game started, we were supposed to just prototype and work all this stuff out, give it to people, and everything was cool. We didn't have programming at the start, and I didn't have the skills at the start, and I do now. So next game, it's going to be sweet. We'll talk about that game next time. But for this one, because it didn't get prototyped enough at the start, there were problems that sort of got locked in. And now we're trying to unlock and unpaint ourselves out of the corners to try and fix all those.
And have you found that you've been getting support or tips from people around here? This feels like the place to get help.
It's fantastic, and no one's mean. People will go, you want them to smile and be happy, and none of them are doing that just yet, which is a shame. But they will always say, okay, this is happening, and I'm sort of expecting this, but that's not happening. I'd rather do whatever. And just ideas. Everyone's so free with ideas to help out everybody else. It's wonderful here.
Yeah, I feel like these two right here could actually just be planning out the next Gears of War game or something.
They could.
Yeah, there's just so many people around here just willing to help.
I'll give them my game, and they can help me. Please fix it. Please fix it.
What's your plan for the rest of the day?
Not too much. This is kind of the end. The last couple of days, I've been doing heaps of business stuff and talking to press and PR stuff, and we're kind of done now. So the rest of the day, going to enjoy some more talks and maybe chill out with some friends before we fly out.
And so what do you think, what did you get the most out of this GDC?
And I think for us, talking to some publishers has been really good. A few people have said stuff like, you wouldn't believe how many games we get shown, and it's very rare to see a new mechanic and that kind of stuff. So it just made us feel like, we're doing something right.
I guess so much of your life would be you're in this bubble where you and your co-workers and your friends are really the only ones who've played the game, and at this point you're like, what is it?
It's just kind of numb on us a little bit. And the friends we've got, they've seen it all the time as well. So I think it's kind of I value their opinion, but they've seen it so much, it's hard to get a fresh opinion. So I think people who've seen it for the first time while I've been here have been really cool.
Also, friends lie to you.
Yeah, that's true. Damn friends. Why are you so supportive and loving?
I can't think of many industries where people are
this willing to talk about their struggles and failures.
Yeah, people are really happy to go, oh, this didn't work. We were really sad, but we tried this and then we turned it around.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, make sure you don't do this. Like, learn from our mistakes. And yeah, the real openness is really inspiring.
Yeah. I think ultimately game developers are gamers themselves. Like, I think we all love games, we love the media, we love making games, we love being in the community. And I think everyone's like that. Even people at big studios, like they all started like somewhere, like making a game in their bedroom, whatever, and then working their way up. So I think everyone remembers where they came from.
So now that you've been here, what's the plan when you get home?
I think there's a few people we got to follow up with. Like some of the people we showed it to wanted to get videos and demo builds and those kinds of things, so we got to do that. The feedback we got gave us some things to think about, like in terms of a couple of design things and progress things. So I think we'll go back to the team and do some tuning and refining. But I think the thing for us is it's kind of reaffirmed we're on the right path in a way. I think coming here we're a little bit like, will anyone like our game? Are we doing the right thing? Like the positive reactions from couple of really big people were like, oh, we should just follow the goal we had and don't stray, don't be not confident, just do it and ship this thing. So we're going to do that.
That's awesome, man.
To me, that's so beautiful that GDC had given Kevin the confidence to believe in himself. And at the end of the day, isn't that why we play games? To embolden Kevin's ego?
Laura.
Yes?
It is the last day of GDC.
Yes,
I
it
believe
is.
I told you that you needed to sell your game so that we could have a happy ending for our episode.
I maybe didn't sell it.
What have you been doing the last couple of days?
I think the last time I spoke to you was actually an hour or two before I went to the Disney Storytellers event.
Yes.
And which I got an invite to, which was like RSVP only.
How did you score an invite to that?
Because I met Luigi Piari and he works at Disney Interactive. So I went in there, sat in the front row, and like Ronnie and Chris and Suzanne were there. So that's like director of Inside Out, director of Frozen.
Are you on first name basis with all these people now? Ronnie, Chris, and Suzanne?
Yes. So they did a panel about story in Disney movies and stuff, and it was amazing.
Do you feel like a walking, talking like success story for networking? And do you feel like you've learned something that you can take back to your company?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The talks as well have been really good. I went to one yesterday that Nick Yee did, and that was all about the big 5 personality traits and matching that with player profiles and stuff. And I find that really interesting because
so like
I
player
have that
psychology sort of stuff?
Yeah, he was like giving everyone the slides from the PowerPoint. So I can't wait to go back and sit with my team and be like, let's do some player profiles, let's get data. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind, but it's been totally worth it. This has been really good because it gave me a chance to understand how this whole conference works.
Yeah.
I was told, just make friends, meet people, make
that's
friends.
happened. Yeah.
And I've achieved that.
So next time you think you might be able to come here with a product or something and just start actually going like, you know me as a person, now here's how I am professionally.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's the plan. So
GDC a success?
GDC a success.
All right, I'm going to count that as a happy ending.
Yes.
I'll forgive Laura for not selling her game this year because at the end of the day, GDC is not about the games I'll be playing. It's about the humans who make the games I'll be playing. And this week, I've met so many amazing, creative, generous people who are all here for one reason, to celebrate their work and to pay it forward to the next generation of developers. GDC has been running for nearly 30 years, and amazingly, it's only getting bigger. What started in one man's lounge room has turned into one of the most important landmarks in the gaming calendar. A chance to gather together, meet your peers, and be inspired. Or, in the case of Craig, work out how to make your game understandable by children. It certainly made me want to develop something. This week, I was the odd one out. Where normally people would be thrilled to appear on television, here they would just ask me what I was working on, and I would have to say, it's actually just a TV show. You can't play it. I mean, maybe one day in VR, but probably not.